24-16 is the final score as the Minnesota Vikings leave Miami with the win over the Miami Dolphins today. Ben, this is Between the Lines, fueled by Gatorade for fans who don't know what this is. But Ben Leber, this was a game where the Vikings, in my opinion, they should have won by more. But if you look at the stat sheet, they lost in almost every statistical category. What were your thoughts on just this win for the Vikings today?
Dude, it's all about making plays. I mean, that's why sometimes, all you stat watchers out there, it doesn't really tell the whole story. Our defense gave up over 400 yards passing.
It's crazy.
But when I talk about making plays, you get 6 sacks in critical situations, and you get 3 takes. We talk about turnover ratio, winning the take-give game, and we did that. And that really was the difference in this ball game. Offensively, we couldn't get a whole lot of things going, so defense had to step up. We knew that was going to be an issue at some point in time in the season. The defense was going to have to be the better phase, and they were today.
9 3-and-outs for this Minnesota Vikings offense today.
Brutal.
So the defense really did have to step up. Who were some key players on the defensive side of the ball, in your opinion, that really stood out to you that had big games today?
Patrick Jones right off the bat. DJ Wanham doesn't play this game because of illness. He stays back in Minnesota, so Patrick Jones comes up, and his number gets called. And when your number gets called, you shouldn't feel like there's a drop-off. I know that we can say that, and that's not always true, but there certainly was not a drop-off. He came out and had an excellent day. Zadarius Smith came out, has been a force all season long. He got after the quarterback, Danielle Hunter. He got after the quarterback. Dalvin Tomlinson early on was a wrecker up front, maybe not statistically, but forcing a lot of things. And then obviously Harrison Smith making some big-time plays, and Patrick Peterson, using the savvy vet knowledge and expertise that he has to bait Teddy Bridgewater into that throw. He sits on it in the flat, picks it off.
Oh, I'm so happy for Patrick Peterson. He's from Fort Lauderdale. Yeah. He gets an interception here. You talked to him post-game, the post-game interview that you did, and he said he had never won a game here in the state. I guess in this stadium. So the fact that he got that, and then Dalvin Cook got a rushing touchdown to kind of seal the game. Yeah. He's from South Florida also. Just so great to see both of those guys have a day. Your thoughts on Dalvin Cook just sealing this game today? What did you think about that?
Well, I got to be honest. I saw him later in the game, before that big touchdown run, and he sort of looked disappointed. He looked really frustrated. He was detached from the offensive side of the ball. He was down by the defensive side of the bench. He just sort of looked surly on his face. And I understand, he wanted to come out in front of his hometown people and his family and friends and have a big day. And you could kind of see that frustration. But as I talked to Garrett Bradbury in the locker room, he's like, we knew we've been sitting on that run play. That's a run play that we've been waiting on for him to make that one cut and get vertical. And so it's a play that they've been trying to execute throughout the year. It finally hits. He makes a guy miss. And obviously it went from a little bit of a frown to a big-time smile for Dalvin Cook. And I saw him in the locker room as well, and he's pretty excited.
Yeah, I'm sure his family's excited too. Yeah. I think he said he had 30 family members who tailgated before the game, and they were watching today's game here in the stadium. So that was fun to see. But one secret the Vikings didn't let out this week was that they had the players practice in sweatpants this week to prepare for the humidity of this game. I felt like that played a big factor because we didn't see many Vikings players going into the locker room with IVs. What were your thoughts on just the legs of these Minnesota Vikings today and this humidity?
I think that was a hidden facet of this game, was this heat and humidity. And at one point in the game, early in the game, and I actually think it got hotter as the game went on, it was 90 degrees on the Miami Dolphins bench. It was 115 on the Vikings bench. So a 25-degree difference, and those guys were just cooking in the sun. And I don't think we had one guy that went down for cramps. Not one guy went to the locker room to get IVs. I believe Tyreek Hill was dealing with cramps. He was out for a series or two. So it seemed like the Miami Dolphins were much more affected by the heat and humidity, and they play here. They're down here. This is their home base. And you've got a northern climate team like the Minnesota Vikings to come in here. I think everything that they did to prepare, it worked out. We didn't seem like we were letting the temperature and the humidity beat us. We were trying to play the game on the field and not battle the temperature.
Kudos to Kevin O'Connell and his staff for, I guess, making that adjustment midweek, understanding what the weather's going to be like. I mean, it snowed October 14th on Friday.
I forgot about that. Oh, don't tell me that.
I didn't forget it. Well, I didn't forget it all, and I definitely didn't miss it being down here in Miami. But now, speaking of Kevin O'Connell, he's got this Minnesota Vikings team to 5-1 heading into the bye. The first time since 2016, the Vikings have won 4 straight games. The first time since 2019, the Vikings have started the season 5-1. Where do we go from here going into the bye?
Well, again, I mean, we've said it after every game. It hasn't really been perfect. You know, it's been a little clunky. You know, you start the game last week, 3 straight drives, and you put the ball in the end zone. This week, it's 4 straight drives of 3 and out. They do end up figuring some stuff out, but talking to some of the players and talking to Coach O'Connell, I feel like they're seeing everything that every defense can throw at them. You know, one of the big things was they opened the game and they're 11 personnel. That's 1 tight end, 1 running back. You know, it's a little bit more of a pass-centric formation, and that's something that Kevin O'Connell's known for. And the Miami defense played base personnel, so they did not bring a nickel on the field. They did not bring an extra defensive back. And he said that was a big adjustment that we had to make. It really kind of threw off what we were trying to do. So every game they're learning about how defenses want to attack them. And you put that stuff on tape, you make the adjustments, and I feel like after the bye week, after they self-scout, this is going to be a much different looking offense because they're going to be prepared for everything.
Really quick before we close, because you talk about that adjustment. The Vikings' 3 touchdown drives, C.J. Ham was in the game on those drives. And you pointed this out earlier in the year. The Vikings' run game is a little bit better when C.J. Ham is in the game. Think about Dalvin Cook's 53-yard touchdown run. How does he make this offense better? In my opinion, he's a sneaky guy because he can do so much.
Well, he picked up a nice little first down conversion off a little fullback dive, and you know he can run the ball. We've seen him catch the ball in the backfield. I think when you implement a true fullback like C.J. Ham that can actually be a little bit of an H-back as well, catch the ball in the backfield, it makes the defenses have to go a little bit more weight on their toes. You know, as a linebacker, as a former linebacker and defensive player, when we see big personnel, it's hard not to think about the run game. It's hard not to think about attacking the line of scrimmage. We see so much how we use play action pass. Play action pass with no fullback or no big tight ends in there aren't really as effective.
Right.
You know, 1-back runs and stuff like that aren't nearly as effective when it comes to play action pass. So I think implementing a big fullback, a guy like C.J. Ham that can get downhill, it's like instinctful for defensive players to just to get downhill and stop that.
Yeah.
So I think that's what opens everything up.
I think this is really good for this Minnesota Vikings team, getting a win in Miami for the first time since 1976. In 1976, when we beat the Dolphins, the #1 song in America was Rod Stewart, Tonight's the Night. Fast forward to 2022, today is the day that the Minnesota Vikings beat the Miami Dolphins. Heading into the bye, 5-1.
Can you name the #1 song right now?
#1 song right now, I cannot name that. It's probably some.
I'm just gonna put you on the spot.
Some type of pops. I don't know. I'm not hip like this new culture is. So for Ryan O'Neal, Ben Leber, my name is Gabe Henderson. Thank you again for tuning into another edition of Between the Lines, fueled by Gatorade.
5-1, baby.